I think the value of beauty and inspiration is very much underrated, no question. But I want to be clear. I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. That is not I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. I think it's important to have a future that is inspiring and appealing. I mean, I just think that there have to be reasons that you get up in the morning and you want to live. Like, why do you want to live? What's the point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future? One of the most soul-destroying things is traffic. It affects people in every part of the world. It takes away so much of your life, and it's horrible. It's particularly horrible in LA. We're trying to dig a hole under LA, and this is to create the beginning of what will hopefully be a 3D network of tunnels to alleviate congestion. By having an elevator, sort of a car skate that's on an elevator, you can integrate the entrance and exits to the tunnel network just by using 2 parking spaces. A couple of key things that are important in having a 3D tunnel network. First of all, you have to be able to integrate the entrance and exit of the tunnel seamlessly into the fabric of the city. The car gets on a skate. There's no speed limit here, so we're designing this to be able to operate at 200 kilometers an hour, or about 200 kilometers an hour, or about 130 miles per hour. So you should be able to get from, say, Westwood to LAX in 6 minutes. There's no real limit to how many levels of tunnel you can have. So you can go much further deep than you can go up. The deepest mines are much deeper than the tallest buildings are tall. So you can alleviate any arbitrary level of urban congestion with the 3D tunnel network. LA subway extension, which is, I think it's a 2.5-mile extension that was just completed for $2 billion. So it's roughly $1 billion a mile to do the subway extension in LA. And this is not the highest utility subway in the world. A single road lane tunnel would, according to regulations, has to be 26 feet, maybe 28 feet in diameter to allow for crashes and emergency vehicles and sufficient ventilation for combustion engine cars. If you just do 2 things, you can get to approximately an order of magnitude improvement, and I think you can go beyond that. So the first thing to do is to cut the tunnel diameter by a factor of 2 or more. If you shrink that diameter to what we're attempting, which is 12 feet, which is plenty to get an electric skate through, you drop the diameter by a factor of 2 and the cross-sectional area by a factor of 4. So, and the tunneling cost scales with the cross-sectional area. So that's roughly a half order of magnitude improvement right there. I'm in favor of flying things. Obviously, I do rockets, so I like things that fly. This is not some inherent bias against flying things, but there is a challenge with flying cars in that they'll be quite noisy. The wind force generated will be very high. We built a Hyperloop test track adjacent to SpaceX just for a student competition to encourage innovative ideas in transport. It actually ends up being the biggest vacuum chamber in the world after the Large Hadron Collider by volume. So cautiously optimistic we'll be able to be faster than the world's fastest bullet train, even in a 0.8 mile stretch. We developed a little pusher car to push the student pods, but we're going to try seeing how fast we can make the pusher go if it's not pushing something. I think if you were to do something like a DC to New York Hyperloop, I think you'd probably want to go underground the entire way because it's a high-density area. You're going under a lot of buildings and houses, and if you go deep enough, you cannot detect the tunnel. The reality is that Earth is incredibly good at absorbing vibrations, and once the tunnel depth is below a certain level, it is undetectable. I think almost every automaker has some electric vehicle program. They vary in seriousness. Some are very serious about transitioning entirely to electric, and some are just dabbling in it. Well, I intend to stay with Tesla as far into the future as I can imagine. And there are a lot of exciting things that we have coming. We've got obviously the Model 3 that's coming soon. will be unveiling the Tesla semi-truck. You can absolutely be superhuman with just cameras. Like you could probably do 10 times better than humans with just cameras. I think we're still on track for being able to go cross-country from LA to New York by the end of the year, fully autonomous. November or December of this year, we should be able to go from all the way from a parking lot in California to a parking lot in New York. No controls touched at any point during the entire journey. If you say I'm going to be really good at one specific route, that's one thing, but it should be able to go, really be very good, certainly once you enter a highway, to go anywhere on the highway system in a given country. With the Tesla Semi, we want to show that an electric truck actually can out-torque any diesel semi, and if you had a tug-of-war competition, like the Tesla Semi will tug the diesel semi uphill. A solar glass roof will be less than the cost of a normal roof plus the cost of electricity. So in other words, this will be economically a no-brainer. We think it will look great, and it will last. On average, a roof is replaced every 20 to 25 years. So, but you don't start replacing all roofs immediately. But eventually, if you say we were to fast forward to say 15 years from now, it will be unusual to have a roof that does not have solar. I think eventually almost all houses will have a solar roof. Now the thing is to consider the time scale here to be probably on the order of 40 or 50 years. It depends on where you are and what the house size is relative to the roof area. But yeah, it's a fair statement to say that most houses in the US have enough roof area to power all the needs of the house. But I think to the degree that there are people in the room who are arguing in favor of doing something about climate change, or other social issues, I'm just on 2 advisory councils where the format consists of going around the room and asking people's opinion on things. And so there's like a meeting every month or 2 that wasn't on the agenda before. So maybe nothing will happen, but at least the words were said. I've used the meetings I've had thus far to argue in favor of immigration and in favor of climate change. It's important to appreciate that reusability is only relevant if it is rapid and complete.
Right.
So like an aircraft or a car, the reusability is rapid and complete. We landed the rocket booster and then prepped it for flight again and flew it again. So it's the first reflight of an orbital booster where that reflight is relevant. So if we're not out there, if the future does not include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planet species, I find that it's incredibly depressing if that's not the future that we're going to have. Introduce something new to the probability stream. sustainable energy will happen no matter what. If there was no Tesla, never existed, it would have to happen out of necessity. It's tautological. I look at the future from a standpoint of the probabilities. It's like a branching stream of probabilities. And there are actions that we can take that affect those probabilities, or that accelerate one thing or slow down another thing. The fundamental value of a company like Tesla is the degree to which it accelerates the advent of sustainable energy faster than it would otherwise occur. If you don't have sustainable energy, it means you have unsustainable energy. Eventually you'll run out, and the laws of economics will drive civilization towards sustainable energy, inevitably. That's what I consider to be the fundamental sort of aspirational good of Tesla. Then there's becoming a multi-planet species and space-faring civilization. This is not inevitable. When I think like what is the fundamental good of a company like Tesla, I would say hopefully it does. If it accelerated that by a decade, potentially more than a decade, that would be quite a good thing to occur. The sustainable energy future, I think, is largely inevitable, but being space-faring civilization is definitely not inevitable. Then the space shuttle retired, and the United States could take no one to orbit. So that's the trend. The trend is like down to nothing. If you look at the progress in space, in 1969 we were able to send somebody to the moon. 1969. Then we had the space shuttle. The space shuttle could only take people to low Earth orbit. You look at great civilizations like ancient Egypt, and they were able to make the pyramids, and they forgot how to do that. And the Romans, they built these incredible aqueducts. They forgot how to do it. People are mistaken when they think that technology just automatically improves. It does not automatically improve. It only improves if a lot of people work very hard to make it better. And actually